Day three. Looking back on it, I think day three was perhaps the most uneventful day of the entire trip. I got up in the morning, and if you remember, I was back at the hotel I had stayed at the night before. So I got up, went back to the same fast food, ate it again, and waited for the bicycle shop that was just up the street to open at 9 o'clock, I think it was. Maybe it was 8 o'clock, whatever. Went in, no other customers, and the manager, owner, real nice guy. I told him I couldn't get this tire changed. So he took it off and put it on his rack, and he said, the reason I couldn't get it changed is it takes two tools to do this. The tool that I was using, that plastic bar that you slide underneath, and then a metal one that you use to work along the bead. You've got to work them together. Oh, I didn't know that. He showed me how to do it, and he got it off. And I said, these tires are supposed to be the top of the line. He looked at him and he said, well, not only are they supposed to be, they are. You can't buy a better tire. I said, well, so why did I get a flat? He said, it's probably just pinched or something like that. Who knows? Defective inner tube. Beats me. I doubt seriously, this is him talking, that you'll have any more problems with flats. That was relieving. Dead wrong, but relieving. So he put it back together, and I said, just in case, let me buy 2 more inner tubes. So he sold them to me happily. And I went out and started my ride. Now, again, I had to climb up those really long hills that I had climbed yesterday through the sketchy neighborhood with the bars on the windows and the pit bulls, which not only did they work Easter Sunday, but they worked the first Monday after Easter Sunday too. So they were out there. Went by the bar that was rocking and rolling on Easter. Strangely enough, it was closed and just quiet. I guess there's not much partying the first Monday after Easter. Maybe folks actually have to go to work. Beats me. So I went up, rode back down, and now I'm facing this highway that I had ridden up yesterday before I ran into the problem with the tires and the Christians that didn't help me out and Pablo Escobar's family. The traffic was pretty heavy. It's a 3-lane road. Now going into San Diego, it was mob, just solid traffic, man. Going out was less busy, but busier than I thought it would be. And then there was the turning lane. Zoom, 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 zoom. Eventually, I found an open spot and was able to zip across and start riding up, leaving town. Now, those of you that have not ridden on a small, tight road, and this was a tight road, there was 2 foot of path between the highway and the trash and the rubbish and everything else that was laying alongside of the road. So I had to be really vigilant. There's 3 kinds of people driving cars as far as their relationship to bicycles goes. The first group is the majority, by far the biggest majority. And they'll, if they can at all, try to move over and give you room. God bless them. The second group, well, they just kind of ignore you. Just wham! Fly on past you. It spooks you a little bit. All right, more than a little bit. The third group, they consider you either an inconvenience or a target. And I kid you not, they will actually edge over some so that some of them missed me by, it felt like 6 inches. It was probably a foot. What could I do? I continued riding. I rode all the way down the 20 or 30 miles and stopped close to the rest area that I had all the problems with the flat before. I said close to because just before I got there, boom, 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 another flat. Went into the rest area. This time I didn't have to walk a mile. It was only a couple 100 yards, but I knew how to change the tire, and it only took me like 10 or 15 minutes. So I got that all changed with visions of Pablo Escobar's family hanging all around. You remember the pickup truck driver? And then got back on the road. Now from here down to the camp area was another 50 miles or so. And after I got out of all the heavy traffic, it was a pretty pleasant ride. There was some hills, but they weren't bad. And a lot of it was kind of scenic. I enjoyed it. Though the border wall was only a couple hundred yards off to my right. I'd never been that close to it before. So I kept looking at it, waiting for him, like World War Z, if you ever saw that. The people zooming over the wall. Nah, never saw any of that. So eventually I got down to where I was going to stay for the night, which was a camping area. Now, it was a little dirt road off to the left, I think. There was no signs. I'd read a blog post before I got there. Another bicyclist said, yeah, there's no signs. You just have to trust. Go on up, and whatever you do, turn to the left. Keep turning to the left, because if you go to the right, well, it gets pretty ugly. So I went up there, and I turned to the left, and I turned to the left, and I turned to the left. Eventually, I came to a second-class trailer park. There was 10 or 15, 20 trailers in there. And I went up, and there was a manager's office and some restrooms and some showers. And I knocked on the manager's door, and he wasn't there. So I set my bike there, and one of the guys in the trailer comes out, and he says, you looking for the manager? I said, yes, I am. He said, well, he's not here today. He's off visiting somebody. I'm in charge. I said, well, I want to camp here tonight. How much is that? He said, give me $5. So I gave him $5. Sounds good to me. And then I said, well, can I use the restroom and the showers and all that? He said, sure. So I went up into the restroom. There was, by the way, this is how weird it was. Great big sign in the restroom says, do not dye your hair in the sink. We know who you are. And if you do it again, we're going to come knocking on your door, and your butt is out of this park. So don't do it again. Well, does it look like I dye my hair? So I didn't have a problem there. I washed up and everything, went back down. There was nowhere to buy any food. So I just ate some sardines and energy bars that I carried with me for just this type of thing. Set up my tent, goofed around a little bit, and then just set up my sleeping bag. The sun was going down. I thought, might as well call it a night. So I crawled into my sleeping bag with my trusty Marine Corps K-bar right there next to me, closed up the tent, and went to sleep. And that was it. Day 3 was pretty uneventful, though that flat tire spooked me some.